The evolution of Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg is a self-taught computer programmer and the co-founder, chair, and CEO of Meta, formerly known Facebook, originally known as FaceMesh. Zuckerberg co-founded the social networking site with Andrew McCollum, Dustin Moskovich, Chris Hughes, and Eduardo Saverin in his Harvard University dorm room in 2004. According to Bloomberg, Zuckerberg's net worth was approximately $68.2 billion as of June 10, 2022. Keep watching to learn more about how he built his empire and continuously evolved his ways to sustain it. Talking about early life and education, Mark Zuckerberg was born in White Plains, New York on May 14, 1984. He had an early interest in computers as a child. At a nearby college, he learned the basic programming language. At the age of 12, he created an instant messaging applications that his father used in his office. Zuckerberg attended Harvard University but dropped out after his sophomore year to focus on Facebook development. FaceMesh, a website for ranking the attractiveness of other Harvard students, and HarvardConnection.com, an online social media networking platform, spawned the site. The three credited founders of HarvardConnection.com, Cameron, Tyler Winklevoss, and Divya Narendra, sued Zuckerberg in 2004 for allegedly stealing intellectual property from the website. In 2008, they reached a multi-million-dollar settlement of cash and stock options. In 2011, the Winklevoss twins attempted to reopen the lawsuit, but the court denied their request. Now comes the notable accomplishments. First is the Facebook IPO and acquisitions. Facebook raised $12.7 million in venture capital in mid-2005, expanding access to hundreds of universities and high schools. 1 year later, the social network went public, and Yahoo offered $1 billion to buy the company, which Zuckerberg quickly rejected. When Facebook went public in 2012, it became the most successful internet initial public offering in history, raising $16 billion. That same year, Facebook acquired Instagram and Zuckerberg married Priscilla Chan in a surprise wedding day after the IPO. Over the years, Meta has acquired dozens of companies including Instagram for $1 billion in 2012, WhatsApp for $22 billion in cash and stock in 2014, Oculus VR for $2 billion in 2014, and several others ranging from artificial intelligence to identification platforms. Next is controversy and Cambridge Analytica. Meta has been accused of collecting and selling its users' personal data, posts, and instant messages almost since its inception. Three allegations intensified shortly after the 2016 US presidential elections, with some alleging that targeted ads funded by Russia-influenced US voters. In March 2018, the New York Times and The Observer reported that Cambridge Analytica, a UK-based political consulting firm, had paid an outside researchers to collect data on 50 million Facebook users without their permission. According to the New York Times, Cambridge Analytica's goal was to use the data for its trademark psychographic modeling with the goal of reading voters' minds and potentially influencing election outcomes. In April 2018, Facebook revealed that 87 million users' information had been improperly shared with Cambridge Analytica rather than the 15 million previously reported. 6 months later, those detractors vanished. The company is gaining incredible traction, exceeding users' growth projections and becoming cash flow positive earlier than expected. Recent management hires enhance the company's image more than ever. Zuckerberg is still in charge. What occurred? Insiders say the changes reflect Zuckerberg's steady decision-making over the last year and a half. According to a number of executives and investors I've spoken with over the past few weeks, Facebook's founder, who was under the age of drinking when he received his first venture capital investment round 5 years ago, is emerging as a talented business manager. He's hiring seasoned executives and entrusting key roles to them, getting more comfortable communicating and leading, and bringing more order to the company's chaos. Sheryl Sandberg, Mike Schroepfer, Chamath Palihapitiya, Jim Breyer, and David Say were among the executives and board members who spoke candidly for this piece. Other employees asked to remain anonymous. What about finding the right business culture? Take, for example, the incident surrounding the hiring and firing of the company's chief financial officer, Gideon Yu. Hiring Gideon Yu, the seasoned former Yahoo treasurer and YouTube CFO, was considered a ridiculous coup for Facebook just 18 months ago. So much so that when Yu left earlier this year, some outsiders saw it as a strategic blunder, and press reports began questioning Zuckerberg's rule. Why was there so much discord among Facebook's leadership? Employees, on the other hand, will tell you that the mood was different on the inside. Facebook had grown so powerful that Yu was no longer needed. Several employees claimed that they were unconcerned by Yu's abrupt departure. In June, Zuckerberg silenced his critics by appointing David Ebersman, the highly respected former Genentech chief financial officer, as the company's new CFO. He can upgrade every role in the company every 6 months, said one employee, who asked to remain anonymous. That's true for Gideon Yu, and it's true for Sandberg as well. Next comes the ruthless meritocracy. However, Zuckerberg's increased sensitivity to hiring has a negative side effect. It means a more ruthless managing out of employees who underperform. Every employee is rated from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest. No one receives a 5. If you get a 1 or a 2, you are quickly dismissed. The steady departures of early founders and executives are related to this. Adam D'Angelo and Dustin Moskovich were high school and college friends of Zuckerberg respectively. They weren't fired, but they were either burnt out or realized they weren't the right fit for the jobs. They would have been passed over in hierarchy shifts if they had not left on their own. The Sandberg era of stability begins. Koch's work was founded on the evangelism of early Zuckerberg disciples such as the charismatic Sean Parker. Facebook's reputation grew. It was the coolest company to work for in the Valley. However, even as recently as 2007, Facebook employees were not having a good time. All of that changed in March 2007 when Zuckerberg hired Sheryl Sandberg, a respected executive at Google who had built a sizable team there. The two met at a Google executives party. Zuckerberg bombarded her with questions about how to scale a business before inviting her to join him. Sandberg agreed after Zuckerberg made several promises, including relocating his desk next to hers and meeting at least once a week. Sandberg's tenure as COO has, of course, brought its own brand of politics, but it has also brought stability. They appear more jazzed, happier, says Sar Gur, an investor with friends at Google and Facebook. Googlers, some of whom never expected to leave the company, are flocking to Facebook to spread the word. The focus on execution, creativity, and big bets. FriendFeed was purchased by Zuckerberg due to its talented team. It's well known in Silicon Valley that the talent bell curve for engineers is steep. According to Mike Schroepfer, vice president of engineering, a good engineer can be 10 times more efficient than an average engineer. A genius engineer translates into more impact for Facebook, which Zuckerberg understands. In hiring, Facebook considers not only raw talent, such as IQ or GPA, but also whether a candidate has demonstrated the ability to follow through and complete tasks. Creativity is also valued. As examples, the hiring of Blake Ross, a former Firefox developer, and the FriendFeed team are frequently cited. Zuckerberg has delegated vast swaths of authority to executives around him, beginning with the hiring of former Google executive Sheryl Sandberg. Sandberg is in charge of Facebook's business and operations. Dan Rose and Mike Murphy, two business executives, report to her. Zuckerberg created a new role led by Chamath Palihapitiya that connects the 3 existing business units in a single focus on ways to increase user numbers. A VP of growth is unusual, if not unheard of, in large corporations. In retrospect, Zuckerberg's move was a stroke of genius. The evolving communicator. The delegations of power coincides with Zuckerberg's increased emphasis on communication. Earlier this year, Zuckerberg personally accepted responsibility for a postponed program to repurchase employee stock. Someone wrote a letter to employees informing them of the delay and gave it to Zuckerberg, but Zuckerberg inserted a sentence saying that he was sorry. He's become more comfortable in public speaking as a result of more than a year of company-wide question and answer sessions. He used to say very few words, Palihapitiya recalls. Zuckerberg, whose demeanor has been described as halting but intense, has since undergone speaking training and has been open to receiving speaking advice from others. He's also motivated by an understanding of how important communications is to the company. Zuck the Great. Zuckerberg's long-term visions for the company, he thinks in decades, predisposes him to make large, risky bets. He pushed through a redesign that sparked massive protests, but with additional changes. Those protests have subsided. Another example is the recent Terms of Service controversy. Instead of simply removing an infringing clause concerning personal privacy, he moved to completely overhaul the TOS and encourage users to participate. Zuckerberg founded Facebook in his dorm room and grew it into one of the world's largest corporations. Zuckerberg controls the majority of how consumers consume content and interact with one another through Facebook and its many accusations, such as Instagram and WhatsApp. What do you think of Mark's career? Let us know in the comment section. If you enjoyed watching the video, make sure to like and share it with your friends. Subscribe and click the bell icon so that you can be notified promptly of our future uploads. See you in the next video.